So this is Shimano's new ME7 shoe. It's their trail/enduro shoe, and it's a bit more suited to aggressive trail riding, unlike say the M200, which is slightly lighter weight and more suited to faster trail riding. The idea of a shoe like this is to offer plenty of protection, but still a good sort of pedalling platform. So what we have is quite a high-tech shoe. Starting with the sole, we've got Shimano's TORBAL system. What this means is that there's plenty of stiffness front to back, which gives a good base for pedalling, but what it does do is give a bit of twist to the shoe. This doesn't compromise the feel, unlike on really stiff, say, cross-country shoes. So having that bit of twist helps you feel what the bike is doing through the pedals. As a bit of departure for Shimano, they've joined up with Michelin for the sole. Michelin has provided a dual density sole, which has quite an aggressive tread, which is good for walking in sort of softer surfaces, say mulch or loam, but also the softness of the compound means that when you are hiking a bike on rocks and roots, there's plenty of grip there. It's nice to see that there's a little grippy plate in the middle of the shoe if you do just about miss the pedal when you're trying to clip in. The other nice feature is that the pedal cleat bolts can go quite far back into the shoe for a more aggressive position on the pedals. Towards the back of the shoe, you've got a really sturdy heel box. This means that your heel is held really nicely in the shoe. It doesn't lift, so you don't get any blistering, and it also helps with that power transfer to the pedals. There's plenty of protection around there, and that's also echoed at the front of the shoe around the toe box, where there's a fair bit of protection. If I'm honest, I'd like a little bit more along the side, as sometimes you can scuff the side of the shoe when you're going through tight, rocky or rooty situations. Obviously, adding more protection does compromise on things like ventilation and the weight of the shoe. Unfortunately, the shoe isn't too heavy and there is plenty of ventilation. In the winter, it can get a little bit chilly, and it's certainly not a waterproof shoe, but the lace cover does stop a lot of splashes getting through. Keeping the shoe secured is a quick draw lace system on the inside. This is really easy to use and pulls it nice and tight without it being too constricting on the foot. There's also a buckle over the top, and where Shimano have changed things up is that the actual buckle system is on the strap over the top rather than attached to the shoe. Inside the shoe, the tongue sort of loops over on itself, and it's actually pretty comfortable. There's a little bit extra protection on the inside of the shoe for your heels against the cranks, and one of the really nice touches of the shoe is this little neoprene sort of sock which goes around the top of the shoe. What this does is, in theory, stops trail debris such as pine needles or little bits of grit getting into the shoe when you're riding. So we've been riding this shoe for 300 or 400 kilometers off-road now. And to be fair, we're actually really impressed with it. The TORBAL sole has always impressed with its good sort of pedalling manners. It is very comfortable. One of the things we did worry about initially was that the tongue was a little bit stiff and caused a little bit of rubbing on our ankles. But after a couple of days' use, it did soften up and it's turned into actually a really comfortable shoe. The neoprene sock might look a little odd and might initially feel a little bit strange, but to be honest, after a little while, you don't notice it. One thing we did notice though is after days of riding, we've never actually had to empty anything out of the shoes. It might look like a gimmick, but genuinely it actually works really well. We've done a lot of hike-a-bike with this shoe, climbing up to thousands of meters in the Alps with it. And the sole, again, this has been pretty impressive. The tread is relatively aggressive, and so there is plenty of grip when the conditions are a little bit softer, but that double density sole from Michelin has offered plenty of grip. There's a little bit of toe turn up at the front, which means that walking up steeper inclines isn't too bad. And if you do have to walk down some steep stuff, the heel tread is nicely cut to give you that little bit extra confidence on those steeper, looser surfaces. If we have to criticise the shoe at all, it's that the fit for those of you with a low volume foot is perhaps a little bit high volume. I've found that I've had to pull the quick draw in pretty much as tight as it goes. This causes a little bit of sort of deformation around the toe. It's not to say it doesn't fit and I can't get it to fit perfectly, but if you do have very small volume feet, you might find that there's a bit too much room inside the shoe. I've also found that around the edge of the shoe here, I have found a little bit excess pressure, especially when hiking. That said, we're talking about rides of 7 or 8 hours here, so it's not a big issue. The only other thing that I have noticed though, on that note, is that the strap here, when I'm tightening it up to its max to get it as tight as I need it, I'm going all the way to the end of this strap. And that sometimes means that the release button, which is this little one here, can be a little bit hard to undo. In an ideal world, I'd like these little ratchet bits to extend further down the shoe and the join perhaps to be a touch lower again, although that may compromise on durability and would open it up to being scuffed a little bit more. £150 for a trail shoe might seem like quite a lot, and this is Shimano's top-end shoe. It does compare reasonably favourably to other shoes on the market though, if you're looking at that high end.